Hello, this is Kev Carmody with John Broughton on Retrospectives, celebrating 30 years on the air on Casey Radio 97.7 FM.
From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow.
Yeah, it's a pre-record. I'll try not to test your memory too much.
Oh, it's getting old, John, I can tell you. Once you reach 65, you forget half of what you should know.
Well, we'll see how we go anyway.
Yeah, mate. What station do you work for?
3SER, Casey Radio.
Oh, excellent. Community radio.
That's the one, yep.
Only bloody radio's worth listening to.
Yeah, you said it. That's right. Just to start off, Kev, looking back over your childhood, are there any standout moments where music really started to strike a chord with you?
Oh, not really, John. I mean, we were born with it. In an oral, Aboriginal oral tradition, there was always music around us. Official sort of mainstream music we sort of encountered about 1952, I suppose, when Dad bought an old dry cell battery wireless. You know, you could run an aerial up a tree and on the droving camp, and we could get the ABC. So we got a heck of a cross-section of music. You know, from the morning you'd get what was termed hillbilly music then.
Mm.
And then, you know, right through to the evening time, you had these glorious symphony orchestra music, classical music. So that sort of opened our ears up to official sort of mainstream music. But, around the campfires and that, there was always people telling stories, poems, and they'd be singing unaccompanied because you couldn't carry flaming guitars or nothing on pack horses. But there wasn't really, but I mean, just the advent of having the wireless made such a tremendous difference to us. So a lot of our mob couldn't read and write.
Now, your dad was of Irish background, your mum Aboriginal. Did you identify equally with both cultures as a young boy?
Yeah, I mean, what a great mix,
yeah.
John. What a great mix. Like when you look at the musical traditions of both cultures, it was flaming phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And my old Irish grandmother, she could sing you heaps and heaps of flaming original Irish tunes accompanied with a walking stick on the floor. Yeah, you get the real authentic versions. A lot of it was sort of modified when it got into the American mainstream with Bing Crosby and that. They changed the words and stuff.
There was a point there where you seemed destined for a life working on the land. Was there a pivotal life-changing moment where you felt there was more out there for you?
Well, like it was a great life in the sense that you're your own boss most of the times, because it was all sort of contract work, and you did 3 months here and 2 months over there and stuff like that. But then with the advent of mechanisation, John, it forced those hard back jobs were no longer in existence. They brought in combine harvesters and soft cane harvesters, so that forced us to move in onto the fringes of the town to try and get employment. So I sort of reskilled myself about 5 flaming times. I did silo operating on the wheat board when they changed over from lumping the bags to flaming silos, and then I got into the welding sheds as a second-class welder. And but I was always interested in flaming music, John. It was just, I don't know, part of my being, I think. And I studied classical music theory of a night time and did the exams. In about 1976, my old classical music teacher, she said, "You're at a standard that's miles higher than they require for this Institute of Technology that was started up in Toowoomba, which is now the University of Southern Queensland." And I thought, man, anything's better than welding in the welding sheds 12 hours a day. I went out and auditioned, and they put me on as a mature age student on probation for flaming 12 months. But like, I was totally illiterate. I'd never read a book. I mean, I didn't go to school till I was 10, and I found it a bit hard there the first 6 months. But the lecturers helped me out, and I learned how to write properly, and I learned all the isms and the ologies and all the this brand new language that they speak in academia.
I believe
it opened my eyes up to this huge library. I mean, God, I was supposed to be doing music for 3 years, history and geography. But man, I used to read books on geology and flaming art and engineering, and you name it. I read it.
Just like a sponge, just soaking it all up.
Yeah, and all this. Yeah, it was just amazing how much flaming sort of data there was there. Knowledge, not too much wisdom. There's tons of data and knowledge at unis.
Your first album was hailed famously by one critic as Australia's greatest ever protest album, but I've never seen you as just a protest singer. Did that categorisation sit comfortably with you at the time?
Well, look, John, like people have their own sort of assessment of what you are and what you do, and it's up to them. I mean, the thing I really sort of find objectionable is the flaming this business of putting music into categories and boxes. It's either classical or it's reggae or it's hip hop or it's flaming R&B or it's pop stuff. I mean, I think you should be able to, address any of those sort of genres. They put you in the folk music one when they heard Pillars because we had no money and had to virtually, everything was acoustic virtually. And, at uni I studied, 12 months of experimental music. And I think a musician can, move in all those flaming genres. Instead of just putting you in the one, and protest always had that negative tag. They developed that in the 60s when the youth movement started across the Western nations.
As you say, Pillars was very much an acoustic-based record, but your albums since have explored a massive range of musical styles. Is that a direct result of the studies that you did? Did that open?
Yeah. Well, just trying to experiment in those things. I mean, it's just, I reckon it's like having handcuffs on if you just sort of stay in the one genre, whether it be country music or reggae or whatever. Swap them around the flaming bit. And maybe even do a fusion of both, sort of thing. And I mean, this one that we're involved in at the moment, the family asked me to sit down before I keel over and record some of the stuff that I've never recorded. Like there's hundreds of them there. So I sat down and I put down 50 bass tracks, and we just picked out randomly. I mean, really randomly, 10 from that, and they span from 1967 to 2011. And I just said to Andy, my sound engineer over here in the bush, I don't want to use a conventional drum kit if I can get away with it on any of them. I don't want a bass guitar, so I rigged up my own little old T-box bass out of a T-box, and we sample all different sort of sounds that we found in this big old shed that he's got the studio in. Whacked an axe on the rim of a car rim and recorded that. The T-box bass, the flaming handsaw. You ever heard of handsaw, John?
Yep.
Sort of sound.
It's a really eerie sound.
Yeah, butter knife on the table, sort of thing. And we sampled all our own sounds, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they're the sort of percussive bass of the whole lot. So just to make it sound different, I mean, you know yourself that the normal lineup for the mainstream music is your drum kit, your bass guitar, your rhythm guitar, your lead guitar, your singer, and a keyboard, and that's it. You've got to get the same sound no matter how you're flaming all the electronically.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I thought, let's go back to basics and just bang stuff,
I did read another interview with you recently where you claimed you could record another 10 albums without having to write another song.
That's it.
Yeah.
There'll be four or five albums that come out of this one. And as I said, we just picked them randomly. We didn't say, this is a better song than that song. And the thing is, the bass of the music would be different simply because it's done on authentic, organic stuff. I mean, Andy was putting a block of wood in his heater over there one night, and he just happened to hit it with a stick and had this amazingly resonant sound. So we recorded that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the reviewers review this one.
So there's no particular process you go through going through that back catalogue of songs to make a selection. It was just a random process.
Yep. Just went in to the folders. I mean, Paulie Kelly come up and there a while ago, and I just pulled these folders out. He said, "Are they all songs?" I said, "Yeah." And the thing is, like, some of them are so old, John. I forgot the flame and like the lyrics are there, but the actual way I played it, sort of thing. So I had to really think about how I did it, because a lot of it was finger stuff, you know, the four fingers.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was almost like a walk back in the ancient past. It's dinosaur music, John.
Going back to Pillars of Society, it came out during the bicentennial year. Was it put out at that moment as a means of getting the other side of the story out there?
John, you put your finger right on it. The family said, "Gee, you got all these flaming songs. They're going to be, you know, pushing this bicentennial. We'll whack the money together and just get a few of them down." So that's what I flaming did, and we did it on an old 8-track recorder. And, you know, not having heaps of money, like Comrade Jesus Christ, I just stood at the microphone and recited it as a flaming poem.
I guess it'd be impossible to speak to you and not have the subject of the song "From Little Things Big Things Grow" come up. Can you take us through the construction of that song and the songwriting process between you and Paul? Yeah,
John, it was that was one that just it just slipped out real quick. Paul came up with his son Declan, and you know, just wanted to have a few days with us mob, so we went out camping on a huge waterhole, and you know, got the campfire going, had the tucker, and then I pulled the little mandolin out with this, you know, very boring chord progression. Then I switched it to the banjo, and then he, you know, got sort of interested in it, and I said, well, you know, it's a good sort of a chord progression to tell a story to. And he sort of was thinking, well, you know, what would be interesting? And I said, well, one of the damn things that really hit us as Murrays in Queensland as drovers was, I remember walking in one night on the droving camp, and Mum's getting all the tucker out for the men, and just after dark, and she said, I just heard on the ABC radio that the Gringy mob walked off Vestey Station. And we said, what? It's like we were citizens at that flaming time, and we thought, holy mackerel, this mob are going to wind up, you know, with the handcuffs on, looking out through the pigeonhole in the jail, or worse. And we watched it with great interest, you know, listened to it with great interest over the years, and Paul got really interested in it, and holy mackerel, he writes quick, that man. Unbelievable. So, and he had this idea in his head for a while about, you know, this beautiful sort of relationship between two individuals, you know, how from this small beginning, this really beautiful, large thing grew. It was a sort of a personal love song, and it sort of wound up turning into a cultural love song.
Yeah.
And then he went and saw Frank Hardy down in Melbourne, and I went and had a yarn to old Fred Hollers, because they were sort of involved in it, and just to, you know, clarify a few things. And yeah, and it was a real sleeper, that one. I mean, it's over 6 minutes long. Mainstream ain't going to play it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just sort of come in on the bass line and grew from the bottom.
It says a lot for the power of that song. It did reach a lot of people despite the fact that it didn't get commercial exposure. It still had a great effect on a lot of people, so you must take great pride in that. Oh,
yeah, John. And the thing is, like, from a cultural perspective, it was just fantastic to see. Like, it was one of the first times we as, you know, First Nations mob actually saw all these white fellas getting in behind it. I mean, God, it wouldn't have went near as well as it did without the unions getting involved. And then, you know, ordinary people that, you know, out of the cities were just saying, like, this is Australia. Goodness me, let's get out of kindergarten and grow up. You know, like, it was that bringing together of people.
Yeah. And you revisited the song again a couple of years ago after the government's apology day back in 2008. Tell us about the inspiration getting it out there a second time.
Oh, with the herd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that fantastic? I think that's, you know, terrific that younger people can flame and take it and put it into another genre, and like it's that old oral tradition where you know, for thousands of years, cultures have seen a song evolve, but the theme stays basically the same. I mean, just hearing the little Zilmia State Schools version of it when I did a little project there with the kids,
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that version?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, God, Triple J picked it up and went on high rotation.
Oh,
Yeah, we just asked the kids, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And just put down their answers. You know, I want to run fast like Kathy Freeman. I want to be a great big football star. I want to be a lawyer to help the people. And then they just use the chorus from Little Things, Big Things Grow. See if you can get a version of it.
Yeah, I will. I'll track it down.
Vilmere State School, yeah.
Yeah. Paul Kelly's been a great supporter of yours through the years. What are your thoughts on Paul's status as a songwriter in this country and worldwide, I guess?
Oh, God, he's an icon, that man.
He is.
And the amount of subjects and topics that he covers is flaming phenomenal. You know, and like if you sort of count up the amount of flaming work that he's put out, it's just never ending. And in fact, we did the 45th anniversary of the Gurindji walk-off up at Kalkaringi there in August, and we're staying in this, camping on the floor in this flaming room at Kalkaringi where the Gurindji mob are. And straight away, him and I started another 2 songs. I mean, he's a national treasure, that fella.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, like, he shares the stuff around, if you know what I mean. It's not a individual ego thing with Paul. He just loves, you know, playing with other people. And that whole Cannot Buy My Soul, John, thing with that, he put the whole lot of that together. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, just amazing. And he never stopped. He's always doing flaming something.
Speaking of Cannot Buy My Soul, I was just the other day watching the DVD of that project. It's a wonderful project. Can you tell us how those concerts came together? And
Oh, chaos. Organised chaos. If it wasn't for Brendan Fletcher, the director, it was unbelievable because, like, what you see there at the State Theatre, what was going on behind the scenes was off the planet. Because, like, you had so many to get on and off that little stage. And the thing is, you know, something would go wrong technically, and Brendan, the director, said to me, quick, race out on stage, fill in for a minute or so, somebody's pulled the bloody plug out somewhere. But it just come off, and like that, I was so proud to have, you know, that every one of those people there, plus the audience, you know, they've become part of our musical family.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bond there that goes beyond the individual ego, you know? It's us, not me.
How did the song selection process go with that? Did you have any role in allocating the songs to the various artists?
Well, Paul did all that, see. I think what Paul did was he sent out a couple of samples to the people he thought would be interested. You know, within 2 weeks he's ringing me up and saying, hey, it's only 90 minutes or something on a CD. He said, every bugger wants to be on it. And I said, okay, well, you know, you sort it out. And, you know, he more or less, with his contacts, did all the associating with the people, but oh man, when he was sending me through the flaming the rough takes of it, it was you know, I thought, holy mackerel, this is bloody bigger than Ben Hur.
What I love about it, John, is their interpretation of it. I mean, if you listen to Sarah Storer's interpretation, or you know, Droven Woman with Glenn and Missy and Paul, and you know, Last Connection and the drones. Yeah.
Blow your brains out, mate. You know, and Bernard and, you know, Johnny Butler, and you think, holy mackerel, this is the best collective I've heard for a damn long time, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
if I had sung it like that, I would have been making money, John.
As a songwriter, I guess it's the ultimate compliment having others do your songs, but what that DVD and that project does show is how your music has reached a new generation of musicians and songwriters, and that must mean even more to you.
Yeah, as I said before, John, I love that concept of songs being passed from generation to generation. I mean, if you look at the 20th century in recorded music, it's just an aberration. That 120 or 130 odd flaming years. It's just an aberration because that's when corporations or individuals own the music.
Yeah.
For thousands of years before that, the community, you know, the flaming culture owned the music, or were custodians of the music.
That's right, and songs were just
you know
passed
what I mean,
on.
You know?
Yeah.
And I just like that concept where it's everybody flaming song, go for it.
You're renowned as a great storyteller in song. I guess apart from an effective story, what for you are the important aspects of good storytelling?
Oh, well, see, you know, again, I'm lucky, John, because I come, you know, for 10 years, I didn't go to school, so I come from an oral tradition. And if you wanted something to stick in a person's head, verbally, you had to, how would I describe it? You had to speak like with word images. You had to have an image that is still verbally in a person's head instead of a written word.
Yep.
And like one instance is my old grandmother. She used to say to us as young boys when we were getting a bit rough, how boys are. Hey, you've got to be real gentle. You've got to be gentle. It's got to be like sunlight, moonlight coming on your skin. You've got to be gentle. And it turns up in that song Moonstruck, the caress of moonlight on the skin. So if I was lucky in some ways that I had that concept of saying things differently so that these little word images are stick in people's head.
Yep.
And the other thing is, to me, I start with the music. Like if the music to me hasn't got a good riff or it doesn't make sense, there's no good putting bloody lyrics to it.
True.
That's why I love revisiting all this old stuff in the that's never been recorded, because the little guitar riffs there, they stick in your head. And if they stick there in my head for 40 years and I haven't written them down, they must have something in them. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sort of thing,
Looking
and
back...
it was great. It was great too, because after the Byron Blues Festival this year, Jim McGeaney from the Oils came up and stayed for a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
And there again, just sitting here on the lounge chair and janging away, and we come up with 2 straight away. No, 3 actually, and one of them is going to appear on this first CD. Yeah, it's called Charon, the spoken word one.
Fantastic.
You ever heard of Charon, Greek mythology?
No, you're going to have to enlighten me there.
Okay, John. He was the fellow. When you died, he'd take you across the river Styx to the land of the dead. And yeah, Charon, he was the boatman that ferried you across the river from life to death, sort of thing. So yeah, it's a real humorous one. This one, you'll love it.
Wow.
So if you're not a capitalist.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And what you could do now with the technology these days, Andy's got this beautiful little recording studio set up in an old coal room, where it's to keep the apples and the pears and the peaches and all that. Beautifully insulated.
Yeah.
And just amazing, because you got that voice alter and flaming technology now where you can alter the voice, that's why all the mainstream pop ones sound the same,
Yeah.
Line the bloody voice up. So what we did with this one, we got my voice and turned it down like Darth Vader.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it gave me a ton of fun. Yeah.
Hey, looking back through your catalogue of songs, do you think there's any singular message or recurring theme that you've been conscious of getting out there in your work?
Oh, look, I suppose the old basic thing of, a person's humanity to another person, John.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what flame and culture you come from or what theology you believe in, that interaction between Homo sapiens should be the main thing. We've got so much in common as flaming humanoids, and yet we spend, the majority of our flaming time, looking at the differences, if you know what I mean. It's celebrating the diversity.
Now, I believe you've been battling with a bit of arthritis in recent times.
That's my, I'm a hypochondriac, yeah. No, mate, look, it's, I was lumping bloody wheat bags, 80 kilo wheat bags when I was 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's, it just wears on you, cutting cane and pressing wool and that. And once you get over about bloody 55, it sets in big time, and everything creaks. I refuse to take bloody chemical pills or painkillers or nothing. I just put up with it.
Yeah. Has it affected your playing at all?
Oh, yeah, John. Yeah, it slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
Slowed down, especially with the fingerstyle stuff. That was the other great thing, John. Geez, you're getting a good interview here, aren't you?
That's a ripper.
Yeah, no, mate. Look, Jim McGeaney, he left his beautiful, would you believe, he said, look, I don't need it. You can use it on the recording. National guitar, the big electric resonator ones?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, man, what a sound. I went ape with this bloody slide, because I love slide because it breaks up the western tone scale.
Uh-huh.
Instead of having the 12 division, like Beethoven had on the piano, with the slide you can get the quarter tones.
Yeah.
North African music or Asian music. So I had a ton of fun with the slide as well.
Fantastic. You got yourself inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame a couple of years back. What does that kind of recognition mean to you?
John, I was pulled in screaming.
Really?
Well, I as I said when I accept the award, I do it for community and culture first. It's a recognition of us as people, sort of thing. And I said I'm going to write to the Guinness Book of Records because I'm going to tell them there's this fellow in Australia that's in the ARIA Hall of Fame with the lowest record sales ever recorded. Can I go to the Guinness Book of Records? No, but great. There again, Paul organised me back up there. I had Missy Higgins and a heap of them, and Natalie from Flaming Blue King Brown and that on stage. So, it's really good if you play solo all your life because, you can get people to help you out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're stuck with a band.
That's right. Hey, you've got me really excited about these recordings you're working on at the moment.
Okay.
How far down the track can we expect to hear something?
Well, we picked 10 for that's the other thing, John. None of this 3.5-minute flaming song business.
No.
We got something to say. We've got a few tracks there over 6 minutes. With 2-minute introductions or a minute and a half outros, sort of thing. So the music's got to make sense first, and the lyrics are, just support it. But it looks like about, March or so, we'll have the first one out because we're mixing the 7th one today, actually, or trying to.
Fantastic.
But there again, the old voice is as flat as a nail, mate. we need somebody with a decent voice to bloody sing them. But anyway, we'll get them out there. We won't make any money, but at least they'll be out there.
They'll be out there. That's the main thing.
And the community radio stations get them. There's no good sending them to bloody mainstream.
No, but we'll give them a good flogging. Don't you worry about that.
You'll get arrested. That's the other thing. People don't. They don't like to say, that music is actually censored.
Yeah.
That's the way they censor it. They just don't give you airplay on the mainstream. But now we've got our community radio stations and the bloody internet. We can circumnavigate that censorship, eh?
That's right. You can work around it.
Yeah, mate.
Hey, Kev, thank you so much. It's been an absolute treat catching up with you.
Yeah, and when it comes out, John, give us another bloody tingle, mate. See what sort of reaction you get to it.
Absolutely.
We need you because you're part of the whole bloody deal with us.
Fantastic. And just thank you for so many fantastic songs over the years, and we're looking forward to the next instalment.
Okay, thanks very much, John.
Good on you, Kev. Take care, mate.
Go safe.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.